To get started, simply add the filter bar visual by clicking on the icon, just as you would with a standard visual. And then you need to provide a category data into the mandatory category field, and hey presto, you have some rectangles. So this is the simplest version of your filter bar, where you haven't provided any of the optional numeric series, size by, sort by, or colour by, and we will come on to what they unlock shortly. But let's start with customization. If we go to the formatting pane, we have several sections, 5 sections of formatting options, and we're going to go through those one by one. So with rectangle gap, you can increase the gap between the rectangles, like so, and with border width, you can reduce it entirely. If we get rid of rectangle gap, that's a bit more obvious, or you can increase it, and that goes all the way round the rectangles. It's not obvious when it's white. So that's your rectangles. Your category text is fairly straightforward. You can change the font decoration, font face and size, and also the colour. You can also turn the labels off and let the users rely on tooltips, and that can be useful if you've got a great number of categories, particularly if you're using the size by data series, because users will automatically be drawn to investigate the bigger ones. Now let's talk about colour. This is where filter bar becomes much more than just a slicer. If we open colour by interpolation, which is the default, we can create a smooth gradient simply by picking a start and an end colour, and the visual will work out how many colours to generate, how many categories you have, in this case 4, and it will generate all the colours that it needs to. If you want to set those to the same colour, by the way, you can just set the start and end to the same, and you'll have one solid block of colour. Now you can also use data to drive your colouring. Let's switch that on and show you one of the superpowers of this visual, really, which is nice clear error messaging. So it says please select either colour by interpolation or colour by data. You can't have both. And once we've switched colour by interpolation off, it says not unreasonably that it would like some data in order to provide data-driven colouring. So let's give it some data, and then let's look at how that's working. So if we hover here now, we can see the sum of the number of cars was 165. So if I change the high value to 165, the next highest value, which is 107, becomes orange. And that's because 107 is in between the medium value and the high value, and therefore it's interpolated exactly the right amount, halfway roughly, between the yellow and the red, and that's how it's generated the orange. So you play with these high, medium, low values and their respective colours, and you can get any kind of heat map colouring that you like. Now just briefly, let's have a look at manual override. If we switch that on, it says, well, you've got to switch colour by data off, because manual override doesn't use the data model at all. It relies on semicolon separated words that you write into this panel here. So it really is just for a quick and attractive visual. If you hover, there's no tooltip, and if you click, there's no filtering, because there can't be, because it's not plugged into the data model. So now that it is plugged into the data model, because I've switched that off, obviously it filters, control click to filter multiple at once, and you can use edit interactions to change whether it filters or highlights, as you can with a standard visual. So now let's go back to these optional data fields. If we pull in a numeric series into size by, you can see that the rectangles are no longer equal width. Hatchback is the biggest, and it has a sales factor sum of 173, which is bigger than the SUV's sale factor of 74, which is why that is the widest. So you can drive the size and the user's perception of the importance of a category by using size by, and you can also do the same with sort by. So let's add number of drivers in there. Then you go to sort axis here, and you can see now number of drivers has become an option. So it's rearranging them, and you can choose ascending or descending on that series. So that was a quick look at what filter bar can do for you. It's a sleek and interactive way to filter your reports, keeping things visually clean. It can be particularly useful using groups of filter bars together as a sort of unobtrusive visual filter that gives the user information and lets them filter at the same time. For more information, visit our product page.